Okay. Um, I guess I'll just start then. I never use cheats. Is it like this? No. There we go. Alright. So, in the blue, we have Rehoboam playing as Franks, the only civilization that it is made to play in 1v1s at this time. In the red, we have Juggernauts, which, as far as I remember, was updated lastly around 2014, so it's a very old AI, but it's surprisingly strong. In spite of this, I have done a bit of testing, so I have some idea of how this set is gonna go. But I think I only did one test game, so I think still anything can happen here. I don't know that much about how Juggernaut makes decisions and stuff, and how much DUC it uses, but I can tell a bit about Rehoboam and the how it plays, and what the strategy is, what the goals are for the future. So I started scripting 1.5 years ago. At first I wanted to make a tower rushing AI, then I realized it was very tricky to make a good tower rushing AI, so I just tried to learn stuff instead. And during that period I just started making a normal AI and found that to be equally fun. The first version of Rehoboam published was about a year ago. It was about the level of the hard DE AI, and it played 1v1s and multiplayer around that level. But I found myself very frustrated while scripting at this point, because it seemed like no matter which rules I changed, it just screwed something else up. And so from that point I've tried to focus on one point at a time and getting that part very strong. So the first point was the early game, where I made the entirety of Dark Age and Feudal Age be DUC controlled. So, like with SD's tutorial AI, every single act the villagers are doing here is controlled by DUC. This took a very long time, but it's also quite efficient. The second major update I did was for the late game eco and macro, and then I'm awaiting a new update in a week or so, which will focus on military micro. At this point though, the military micro is the weak point of Rehoboam. It will go for some feudal army, but only a little bit, and go for a relatively fast castle. It plays very passively because its military micro is shit, to say the least, so it'll just play defensive until imp and try to not throw away too many units. It will go archers into crossbows, into knights, into paladin, and that's the only strategy it has at this point, because I wanted to make it strong before I make it versatile. So yeah, that's about the basics of Rehoboam. It is a fairly strong AI at this point, but it still has quite some weaknesses, especially in the early game. I just got a message, never mind. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Update scoreboard, I will do so. Besides that, it doesn't seem like it. Yeah, and if you have any questions about Rehoboam, feel free to ask. I am happy to reply. I will update the scoreboard meanwhile. Does Rehoboam build scouts or men-at-arms if the opponent is going full scrims? No. Rehoboam doesn't really react to the enemy yet. The next version will react a bit more, I can tell, but this version, it will build some skirms if the opponent is making a lot of ranged units, but I wouldn't say it reacts in a good way. And it won't build any scouts, it won't build any men-at-arms. That is simply just a consequence of the military micro not being good enough for it to be worth it. As we saw with Bambi in the last set, it's not enough to have the right units if you micro them very poorly. So, let's see. At this point we have Juggernaut. It seems actually Juggernaut might go for FC here. I'm not sure what happened here. It seems to be bugging out a bit. It did not take its second boar, and it's up very, very late to Feudal Age. So either it's trying to go fast castle, or it's just had a very bad Dark Age. Yeah. Let's find out. Very late loom as well. I think an AI like Barbarian would have punished this loom time with some scout snipes on villagers. Yeah, but it seems to just have been a very late feudal. Now we see it going for double range. Yeah, I guess mainly skirms here. Skirms and archers maybe. One spear. Rehoboam wasting one of the first of many units. And actually Rehoboam is the first AI attacking, which will not be the case for most games. Usually Rehoboam is the more passive AI. But at this stage the game seems fairly even. I would think Rehoboam is a bit ahead in food collection due to this boar not being gathered. Yeah. I think those spearmen are just built like because it always builds those. Certainly there wasn't any units to counter here. Yeah. Rehoboam is a bit confused. I have no clue why Rehoboam does anything it does with its military. I made the code more than a year ago and it's just bad. But it's gonna be updated, so stay tuned for that. So, it seems Rehoboam is fairly close to going Castle Age here. And I would say from the testing I have done previously, Juggernaut has had something go very wrong in Dark Age. Usually it's much quicker to put on the aggression. But apparently this game wasn't the best. Yeah, this is not too pretty. Rehoboam is sometimes a bit passive with its defense. So yeah, this is just not great. I think it'll lose all three builds here. So we have the first big attack coming. And Rehoboam should be going Castle Age here, yes. So the question is, can these archers do the damage before Rehoboam gets Castle Age? I think not, actually. This tower is very well placed to stop them from hitting the heart of the eco here. And there's no more vills to attack over here. So hopefully Rehoboam will be able to mass some knights here and maybe upgrade these to crossbows. If it won't lose too many before that. which it seems it will. That wasn't great either, but this one knight could clean up this entire army, potentially. And Juggernaut is sending a lot of vills to take down this tower, which I don't really think is worth it at this point, because it's not really, it doesn't really have the military to, I don't know what this vill is doing. It doesn't really have the military to exploit this tower no longer being here. This one knight basically cleaned up the army of Juggernauts. But this one scout can kill a lot of vills, apparently. I'm curious as to what the vill number is here. Yeah, so Rehoboam is actually very far behind in village count here. So I guess those stray scouts killed a lot more vills than they should have. And the Knights of Rehoboam is not really attacking where they're supposed to. Yeah, so score is quite deceiving here. I don't know why Rehoboam is not attacking the archers. Yeah, I really need to change this before the next update. It's just painful to look at. It's only supposed to happen when Rehoboam has plenty of military to defend itself, but I think the problem has been that Rehoboam thinks it's attacking and there's no units in its base. Something like that. So currently Rehoboam is behind by 18 villagers. So it really needs to do damage right now. And it can't because of this tower apparently making the knights run away. So I think Juggernaut might take this game. I'll look at the chat here. Alright. Apparently nothing for me there. So yeah, Juggernaut is only now building its second TC. It's massing a lot of army though. And I think it's got quite a bit more army than Rehoboam already. And now, after 28 minutes, Juggernaut takes its second boar. Probably a scouting thing. Probably didn't find its boar. And it's building. It's getting to 3 TCs here. So it should have a strong boom going behind it. And still 9 vills ahead. Yeah, I wouldn't say this game was is really showing how most games go for Rehoboam. Usually it can lose 1 or 2 vills to a scout like that, but I haven't seen this many vills go down before. Yeah. It should be changed. The first attack is defended rather nicely, but I don't really think it's enough, as it's still behind in eco here. by about 10 mils. So it will need to take a few extra good fights here to eventually... Yeah, and actually Rehoboam only has 2 TCs, so he'll just get further behind in eco here. He doesn't have stone for his next TC, because he used it on the tower. There we go. He bought stone for a 3rd TC. Already good upgrades on the knights for Juggernaut here, who is now attacking again. And I think Rehoboam should have no issues defending this attack, but he's now behind by 18 villagers, which is pretty bad, considering he's not really ahead in any other aspects. Maybe slightly ahead in army at this point, but I know for a fact that Rehoboam is not going to attack right now. It plays very defensively at this stage of the game. So Rehoboam does have very good macro when it's not disturbed. So I would say if the build counts were even at this point, I would give the advantage to Rehoboam, but it's still 19 mils behind at this point, so I just don't think it has the eco to keep up with Juggernaut, unless Juggernaut keeps throwing away units. Yeah, Philosopher, Rehoboam won't build a castle here. It won't build a castle until Imp. Yeah. So let's see this attack. If I think Rehoboam still should have enough to defend this. One of the things I changed in the latest update after fighting Ulysses was that Rehoboam will build up a lot more units in late Castle Age if it's under a lot of pressure. So it should be able to defend here. Question is if Juggernaut is getting close to Imp. Doesn't seem like it at this point. This is not great for Rehoboam though. What it's doing here is it's trying to retreat its army, I think. But it keeps getting retasked to the castle because it's on aggressive stance. So these knights will probably just die without fighting too much. Which isn't pretty. So, both AIs going Imp here. It seems Rehoboam is gonna get Imp a little bit quicker, but not by too much. And now that it lost its army, I think this might be the beginning of the end. I think if Rehoboam hadn't lost those knights, he may have had a chance, but really needs a lot of military right now to survive this. Still behind by almost 25 bills at this point. He is getting to the extra golds on the map rather nicely. But yeah, these castles will do a lot of work, I think. Yeah, I think what's happening here is that this castle is so close to the starting T of Rehoboam that it might think it's inside its town, so that may lead it to attack prematurely. About 65 units more for Juggernaut at this point. Granted, a lot of those units are cheaper, but it should have a window here where it could have an advantage. So Rehoboam will just go for full paladin here. It seems Juggernaut is a bit hesitant about attacking. Will probably want certain upgrades before doing so. It's taking into long swords, two-handed swords, which is very weird. I cannot come up with a sensible reason as to why that might be. So we might be going into a long game here, because Juggernaut is not attacking even though it's 200 pub. These three castles will be very hard to break. Fortunately for Rehoboam, Vikings do not get halberdiers, which is the main counter to the paladins. So this game might actually not be over if Juggernaut insists on not attacking for whatever reason. Maybe some of the more experienced scripters can say why it doesn't attack. Doesn't appear so. Okay, finally Juggernaut seems to be attacking. It might still be early enough. Rehoboam doesn't really want to attack, doesn't really want to defend at this point. It wants to wait for the upgrades, I think. There we go. Now it goes. It did just lose about 20 mils before using its army, which obviously wasn't ideal, but it should be able to at least defend this first wave. Question is if its eco was hit too hard to hold on. It's gonna lose this castle. These traps aren't gonna be contested. So finally, fully upgraded paladins for Rehoboam, but it's lost a castle and a TC, and with that a lot of farmland, which it desperately needs at this point for villagers and paladins. Juggernaut is doing a very bad job at countering the army of Rehoboam, only making the occasional pikeman going champions and skirmishes, so there is still a small hope for Rehoboam if he can stabilize, but it's still looking fairly bleak. Nearly full pub for Juggernaut here. Yeah, second TC gone down here. Rehoboam, who for some reason doesn't have any bills on wood. Yeah, I think this game is over. go. At least the resign rules works rather nicely here. So that would be a game 1 win for Juggernaut, which was the result of the test game I did as well, which however didn't look like this game at all. I think both AIs bugged out a lot this game, more than they usually do. Juggernaut had a very bad Dark Age and also a very slow push in Imp, while Rehoboam lost way too many units to a single scout in Feudal Age and Castle Age, which kind of decided the game here, I think, because Juggernaut gave it every option to come back if it hadn't been for that. So, GG. Let's go game 2. So maybe SD can tell the Sif for Juggernaut in game 2. Goth. Alright. I actually think Goth might be one of the Sifs that Rehoboam would struggle against if it trains enough helps. Let's see. Oh, Alright, so in the blue we have Rehoboam here, with a decent map. I feel fairly confident to say that it'll build its first lumber camp here, and the second is kind of a toss-up between these two. Hopefully it'll build it here, which is a bit more safe. I think it will. And Juggernauts, 2 front wood lines and a far wood line in the back. We have berries somewhat forward and gold in the back, deer in the back. I think I prefer Rehoboam's map here overall, but yeah, fairly close still. So hopefully we can have less bugs from both AIs this game. Juggernaut seems to be taking its first boar without any problems. So is Rehoboam. And something I've noticed is that both these AIs likes to take their boars without getting loom, which is the better option if you can do it without losing builds, as delaying loom will give you more villager work time and Dark Age. And apparently Rehoboam built his first lumber camp front. My best guess is that it did so because it didn't fully scout this wood line, and it will only build judging from the information it has. But it's okay, it's still a decent lumber camp, though it's a bit more exposed. So, looks very similar so far between these AIs. This is actually rather lucky for Juggernaut. He messed up his boiler, but just so happened that he messed it up right next to his mill, so it won't hurt. So, I'm quite interested as to what strategy Juggernaut will go for here. I can say that Rehoboam will go for the exact same strategy as before, but I do not know what Juggernaut will do here. What just happened? Okay, Juggernaut just had quite a bit of idle TC, so it's suddenly behind by one villager. It would appear that Juggernaut is missing some force drop rules to make the village drop off their food to continue villager production. That's one vill, almost one vill behind. That can matter later. Alright, it seems like we have Juggernaut going for a rush here, which seems quite reasonable with the Goths. It should be said that Juggernaut was made with different balance settings, so it's used to Goths having 35% discount on their militia line in Dark Age, which is currently only 20%, but still a good bonus, and this can probably do a lot of damage considering Rehoboam has some exposed resources here and is very far from getting military out. So that one bill Juggernaut is behind will probably be reversed very shortly here. Rehoboam is doing the right thing, fighting with its villagers here, but it's also kind of bugging out. Yeah. So it's actually losing a lot here. Okay, that could have gone a lot worse. That's pretty lucky, actually. Only, I think only losing 2 vills here. With 2 vills being 1 hit away from dying and 1 vill being... Oh! Juggernaut is sending 1 more militia to finish the job, maybe? Yep. There goes 1. Okay, this is actually very, very bad for Rehoboam. Because Rehoboam does not know how to rebuild its buildings once they fail to get built. So what's gonna happen now is it's gonna wait a few minutes until it realizes it doesn't have its feudal building, and only then will it start building archery ranges. So it's not gonna be able to punish this slow feudal age of Juggernaut, unfortunately. That is one of the things I will need to fix as well. Yeah, this tower is in a very nice location though, blocking the entrance to all of the wood eco of Rehoboam here. Now Rehoboam has entered its backup rules, where it will still build its feudal age buildings. The backup rules are a bit less efficient though, but make sure it won't bug out completely here. And yeah, it seems like this will transition into a fairly regular feudal age. However, still with Juggernaut being ahead by 3 vills after this little massacre. Seems like Juggernaut didn't find all the sheep. And it also didn't push its deer. So that's probably the reason for Rehoboam being ahead by 400 food here. And also Juggernaut is going for more skirm heavy army. And for some reason it's getting infantry armor here, or its spears. Yeah, so I think if it didn't go for spears and that armor, and invested all of that into its ranged units upgrades, it would be a lot better, because those can actually do damage to the army of Rehoboam. So, I would say Juggernaut at this point has sort of a timing window where it needs to do damage within the next 5 minutes or so, because after finishing Wheelbarrow, Rehoboam should get Castle Age rather quickly here. So, we again see Juggernaut sending a lot of vills to take down the the defensive tower of Rehoboam here. Defending spears with its villagers. Seems to be working quite well with the tower. Yeah, this is a quite badly coordinated attack by Juggernaut, but it might still work because Rehoboam is very defensive with his army. Doesn't really have enough to take a fight here. So, I guess it'll get the tower here. But it will also lose a lot of units in the process. I think if you account for Wheelbarrow, the Vil count is almost even now. Question is this army enough to significantly damage Rehoboam here? I think it might be still. Yeah, Rehoboam doesn't really have a good wood line to go to at this point. It has this little straggler, but at this point it should probably just commit to fighting. Most of these skirms are rather low. So Rehoboam is on its way to Castle Age, and Juggernaut is still very far from Castle Age, so I think this game can go either way from this point. Yeah, this one archer can actually be quite big here, because Rehoboam really needs the gold to get its upgrades for its archers and to get out knights. So it seems like it'll have enough gold to do crossbow, but nothing else. Doesn't have a market, so it can't really balance its eco that well. But it has enough archers to... Not even sure here. Will this be enough to win the fight? Maybe if the wills tank a bit, can be. Yeah, it's not pretty for Rehoboam here. Rehoboam is defending, but it's also losing a lot in the process, behind by 23 bells at this point. building a tower instead of a TC at this point is questionable. I'm not sure why Rehoboam is not using any of its resources here to build. Oh, I know. So what is happening here is that Rehoboam would normally have built a stable at this point, but since it hasn't had a working wood eco for the past 5 minutes or so, it can't build a stable. So I feel pretty confident that Rehoboam will lose this game from here. Doesn't really know how to proceed from here. I think it's so confused that it doesn't even know it's supposed to build a stable here. But yeah, good job from Juggernaut. I think those forward wills attacking the tower actually made a huge difference in this being a successful attack, because it enabled it to completely idle the wood eco of Rehoboam. And now it's going Castle Age with almost 3 times the population. And Rehoboam is not building a single unit here. I don't know what it's trying to do at this point. It doesn't really matter. I think I can... I could call an admin win, but I'm pretty sure Rehoboam will resign by itself. Yep, there we go. So that is a win for Juggernaut here. I will go change the brackets. So, Juggernaut looking strong. Rehoboam showing some known weaknesses. But yeah, Juggernaut being very good at exploiting those, I'd say. Especially this last game. How fast will Rehoboam transition into Knights reaching Castle? Immediately, Philosopher. It'll get its ranged units upgrades, Bodkin Arrow and crossbowmen, and then it'll start producing Knights right after that.